Welcome everyone. This week's Torah portion is the Torah portion of Re'eh, which in Hebrew means see. Now, Moses tells the Jewish people, see that I place before you today, and he's speaking on behalf of God, the blessing and the curse. The blessing and the curse. The blessing that will come when you fulfill God's commandments, and the curse that could come when you transgress and abandon God's commandments. And these were to be proclaimed by the two mountains of Mount Gerizim and Mount Aval, which actually people know where these mountains are. You can go. There's places that you can see them. And that's where the Jews would cross over into the Holy Land of Israel. And Moses continues telling the Jewish people that when they get into Israel, they should establish a place where God can dwell and make for himself a home in this world, a physical place where more godliness will shine and God will feel comfortable. Now, all of us try to make our own personal dwelling spaces a mini temple, right? This is talking about the temple in Jerusalem. But we all want to make our own dwelling places a mini temple that God should feel comfortable in our dwelling places. And we do that by doing mitzvahs in our dwelling places, good deeds, whether it's hanging up a mezuzah on the doorpost or giving charity or making blessings on our foods and eating foods that are going to give us energy to do good things, and kosher food, and studying Torah. So all of these things can make our own personal dwellings a miniature temple and a miniature place that God can dwell, just like he did in the temple. Now, in the temple, there were sacrifices. From the moment the temple was to be erected, it was prohibited to have sacrifices to God in any other place besides for in the temple on the altar. Now, we are permitted to slaughter animals in the kosher way outside of the temple to eat the meat of the animals. However, the blood, which in the temple they would pour the blood on the altar, the blood of the animals, this is forbidden for us to eat. And till today, all kosher meats go through a salting process, that the salt extracts all of the blood. It's actually done twice, to make sure that we do not transgress this mitzvah, this commandment of not eating the blood of the animal. Then we continue with a little bit of a different topic. Moses discusses the concept of a false prophet, someone who will lead the Jews astray to serve idols and to abandon the commandments of God and abandon the teachings of the Torah. Such a man under the Jewish court should be put to death. The concept of an idolatrous city, a city that everyone serves idol worship, should be destroyed. We then continue. Moses repeats the signs of a kosher animal, kosher fish. We know the kosher animals have split hooves and chew their cud. The fish have fins and scales. And non-kosher birds, there's a list of the non-kosher birds, and generally it's birds that are predators. Actually, there's a rabbi, his name was the Shalah. He lived many years ago. And he once saw a turkey, which is considered kosher. He once saw a turkey being a predator and hunting down another animal. And he said, I don't want any of my descendants eating a turkey because it's a predator. Now, actually, my family, many people in my family say we come from this rabbi, the Shalah. Some people in my family say we come from his brother. I actually had a great-grandfather who said that it wasn't a turkey that he saw, it was a duck. But obviously, he's the lone opinion in that matter. But in my family, we do eat turkey, most people. I have some relatives that do not. So till today, you have many people, many families that will not eat turkey, coming from this rabbi. But generally, most Jews will eat turkey. Now, we continue with a very, very, very special concept in Judaism, the concept of tithe. That 10% of all the produce that people make in their farms and in their personal homes should be eaten in Jerusalem. Or they could exchange this produce in Jerusalem for money. They exchange it outside of Jerusalem for money. And then they use that money to purchase food in Jerusalem and eat it there. Now, in some years, not every year, but in some years, this tithe is given to the poor. Instead of you eating it, you give it to the poor. The firstborn cattle, right? If you have a sheep and it has a firstborn, it gives birth to the firstborn, or any other animal, are to be offered in the temple as a sacrifice, and their meat is eaten by the priests that work in the temple. Now, so this is the concept of tithe, which certain years was only to the poor, but in general, we have a commandment of giving charity, special commandment, which this commandment obligates every single Jew to aid and to help a needy person, whether it's with a gift or a loan. And this is a special commandment. So these days, we'll give a tithe. Obviously, we don't bring it to the temple. We'll give it to holy institutions or to poor people. And we still have the commandment of helping our fellows in need, whether it's through a loan or through a gift. Especially when it comes to the holidays and there's people that need help to buy food to be happy on the holidays. Now, the sabbatical year, which was every 7th year, in the times of the temple, all loans were to be forgiven. Now, this is very confusing because I'll take a loan from you maybe on the 6th year, and I know that on the 7th year, I don't have to pay back. Now, so this is where it gets a little bit interesting. However, this was the system. And it was a great reminder to people that everything you make comes from God. And by doing this special mitzvah, you're not losing money. You're actually, in a way, reminding yourself that everything you get comes from God, and you're appreciative of what you have. And you know that God will bless you with whatever you need. So there is no reason to take advantage of this law, and there is no reason to be scared that you will lose because of this law. And this was a special year, the 7th year, the sabbatical year, just like we have the 7th-day Shabbat, the day of rest, every Saturday. This was a year of rest. Not only did people give up their loans, no one took anything from the field. Poor people were able to come take. They were letting everything rest. Just like we rest on the 7th day, the land was to rest and the people were to rest on the 7th year. And in addition, in those days, it was the custom that people had servants. So the servants were set free after 6 years of service. So their 7th year is their sabbatical. At the end of the Torah portion, we have the unique laws of the pilgrimage that all the Jews would come to Jerusalem, to the temple, 3 holidays: Passover, which is commemorating the Jews leaving Egypt, which is in the springtime; Shavuot, which is 50 days after Passover, which commemorates the Jews receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai; and Sukkot, which is in the fall, which commemorates the harvest season and the Jews being protected in the desert from the clouds of glory, and it is right after the high holidays. And during these special 3 holidays, the Jews would come up to Jerusalem, and it says in the Torah they would come to see and be seen by God, to see godliness, to see the wonders in the temple, and to be close to God, and also to be seen by God. And this concludes this week's Torah portion. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for coming. It was wonderful to see you all. Take care.